Welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We'll rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of the direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Hi, this is Nikki.
And this is Jon, and thank you for joining us in 1991 Movie Rewind. Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare is the sixth entry in the Nightmare on Elm Street story. It takes place 10 years after the events of the previous movie. All of the kids and many adults of Springwood, Ohio are now dead and gone, except for one surviving teenager. Freddy is constantly tormenting him, but keeps him alive. This teen, who has amnesia, is able to escape to a new city where he ends up in a shelter for teens and rests his hopes on the therapists to set him free. Screenplay by Michael DeLuca, directed by Rachel Talalay, and released on Friday the 13th of September 1991. Have you seen this movie before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I have not at all.
Okay.
I've seen only the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but that was back when I was in college. That was the first time I'd seen it because I was a paranoid kid. Mm-hmm. I refused to watch horror movies. They scared the crap out of me. I remember when, just a quick side story, I remember when Friday the 13th 8 came out.
Okay.
And it was like Jason Takes Manhattan. And I was relieved because it meant he was far away from my hometown.
Okay.
So I was paranoid and I took these things way too literal and serious. So I avoided horror movies at all costs for a long, long time in my life. So yeah.
I am the opposite. I've watched horror movies since I was a kid, not really by choice. It soon became choice when I got a little bit older. And it was mostly my aunts who were babysitting me. One of them took me to, I think one of my first horror movies I ever saw in a theater was the fifth one.
Okay.
So that one I remember the most, Dream Child. That one is still... I remember that one, even though I haven't seen it in like pretty much 30 years. And since then, I decided to watch all of them. But while we watched all 5 to get to the 6th.
Yeah, in preparation for this podcast.
In prep for this, which was good because, you know, the 6th one brings back a lot of stuff from the first 5, pretty much. The one that I think I didn't see was the 4th one, which was Dream Master, and because I usually remember the movies by their deaths,
yeah,
and I didn't remember anything from that movie, so I think I saw 1, 2, 3, 5, and then now 6.
And now, so this is your first time seeing 6?
No, this is probably my second time seeing 6.
Okay.
I guess I just never saw 4.
Somehow avoided it.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 others after this, or 3 if you count the remake, but yeah, I've seen Freddy vs. Jason. That was. See,
I've never seen.
That was possibly my first Freddy Krueger movie.
Huh.
And then I realized, oh, this is just goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Because I saw it in a theater with a group of friends in college. So yeah, I have not seen the new Nightmare, which would be the 7th entry. So even though this is the final Nightmare, this is not the last Elm Street movie. There is.
Yeah, I didn't see
New Nightmare, which came out a couple years later.
New Nightmare or Freddy vs. Jason or the remake.
Yeah. Maybe another time. But not for this podcast. We had enough to watch.
Right.
We were sprinkling in Nightmare on Elm Street movies while we were watching, you know, Other People's Money and other, you know, regarding
Fisher
Henry.
Yeah, we watched the first 2, and then we were like, okay, we gotta watch Regarding Henry.
Yeah.
As a palate cleanser, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know which was cleaning which palate, but
yeah, I know.
So I know we'll talk about some of the other movies as we go along, but I would say that this movie, while it could work as a standalone, probably does require some knowledge of the other movies
Yeah.
to really get a full effect. But even so, I don't know if it's worth the time investment. This movie is not good.
I think this is probably so. I don't know if you want to get through the orders of which you liked most to least, but I like 135, and then
Okay.
246 were.
So your order is 135.
No, I like if we're going in or well, I guess it would
Best to worst.
best to worst. My top 3
Mm-hmm.
was 1. 3 is probably my Dream Warriors. I like 1 because that's the first one. That's the premise. 3 is probably my favorite out of all.
Okay.
I like Dream Warriors the most.
Okay.
So 1, 3, and then 5 I like Dream Child just because I remember that was my first horror
That's the
movie.
nostalgia.
It's a nostalgia thing. And then rewatching it now, I was like, why was I so afraid of this? But I mean, I can understand as like I think it was like 9 or something.
Yeah.
So as a 9-year-old, this like messed me up
Yeah, like-
watching some of those like nasty scenes.
Yeah, like why was I afraid of killer clowns from outer space? Like there's no real reason for it, but
I
I
know.
was at the time. You know?
And,
I turn the page of a comic and I see Chucky's face for a Child's Play ad, and I'm like scared out of my mind. But it's printed advertisement. You're just you're a kid.
yeah.
So okay, so your order is probably 135, 246,
Yeah.
or 315,
yeah.
depending on the day.
Yeah.
Okay, my order is 132, 456.
Okay.
And honestly, depending on the day, I could put 2 ahead of 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just thought 2 was cheesier than 3. I think I go by the deaths and
Yeah.
like how creative they were.
Yeah, that's a lot of my basis too. And I think here the problem I have with number 3, Dream Warriors, is that a lot of the characters don't have personality. You have
Patricia
Arquette.
God.
It hasn't been that long, but I already forgot. So you have Patricia Arquette, who's good.
Yeah.
You have the other people were just there to die. They were just there to exist or have
Yeah, they
the one
need,
guy's story
like,
was
filler.
that he just didn't talk. And that's his
But then he
whatever.
became like in the next movie.
Yeah, and then you wish he didn't. Yeah. So what I think makes I don't know, I kind of liked 2 in terms of the creativeness of it.
Of going because it's like instead of a scream queen, like a final girl, it was the final guy.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that wasn't really the main crux. I think what ruined it for me was that Freddy was defeated by the power of love in number 2.
Okay.
And clearly the movie had homosexual undertones, and it was the love between the man and the woman who defeated Freddy at the end as well. So it's weird to me in that regard. So
Okay.
the ending was terrible in number 2, and that's what puts it a notch below 3. But I think number 1 was probably the most creative, and it had the best sense of I'm in a dream world. This is what it would be like if you are stuck in a dream, and someone is manipulating your surroundings, and you're trying to escape, and you're stepping on steps, and it becomes marshmallow goo, and all this
yeah.
other stuff that you expect one thing, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you have a whole nother reality in front of you. I think 1 did the best job of that. And then 5, it was just too derivative of other stuff. You had that whole ending sequence is basically just Labyrinth. With the MC Escher steps and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and then that scene with the model girl, that was
with her eating.
Yeah, that was Beetlejuice meets Meaning of Life guy exploding.
I think, yeah.
So it's just everything was derivative of everything else, including past movies.
So just stealing
Didn't that
ideas
also
from other movies.
Yeah,
or
but-
just recalling other movies.
And didn't 5 also have a waterbed death,
Yeah.
which they had already done? in a previous Elm Street movie.
Yeah.
So I understand your perspective because you have the nostalgia. I think
I also like it because, I mean, it brings in newborn baby. Like, he's going into the unborn baby's dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it builds some lore, which
yeah,
is nice.
that's what I like, that lore, and I wish that was kind of continued. Like, they would bring in that child, the baby. I mean, it's a child in her dreams, like a 9-year-old kid.
Right.
But it's still
played by an actor who is kind of creepy in his own right. He played a lot of creepy.
Yeah, he always played like creepy roles.
But they didn't continue that lore in the 6th one. They kind of were building towards it.
They did.
Yeah, like with like the mother and the asylum and everything and all this other stuff, and then they kind of change everything around, and then they're like, in the 6th one now, Freddy Krueger is this guy who had a wife and child, and yeah, he was this horrible monster and died, but by the way, he also had a wife and child that you didn't know about until now somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And forget about the whole thing about the mother being, assaulted by mental patients and him being the spawn of the devil. Like, that almost takes a back seat to
the other thing, like with Dream Child,
where he has like a semi-normal family and life.
His mom, when his mom gave birth, they show that scene, and it comes out like a decrepit child. Like, he looks all...
Yeah, it's like...
like, he already looks at... Like, he's
like the alien
burned...
baby, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, no, not again, type of a thing. So,
yeah, but
again,
when they... In the 6th movie, he's just like... He doesn't have any facial scars or whatever.
Well, no, yeah.
When they go in the background of, like, when he's a kid.
Right.
In the 6th movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, the
final
dream sequence
nightmare,
in 5 where she gives birth to him, I mean, that was a dream sequence, so she was rebirthing him at that time. That wasn't meant to be,
so she's like, I'm constantly going through this.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't want this, like, don't let this happen again.
Yeah.
Type of thing, because she knew what the result was at the end.
In my mind, like, when I was watching this growing up, I thought, like, he was a deformed baby. Like, he was born that... Like, he looked that way. Like, a burned victim already.
Yeah.
Even though I know he says, I've been burnt... Like, in the last movie, he was like, I've been killed 3 times, burned alive, buried alive.
Right.
So...
Holy water, yeah.
Yeah, holy water. And then...
But, I mean, I understand why you would think that, especially if 5 was your first movie.
Yeah.
But
then when I saw 6, and then when he goes back, when his daughter is going through his memories of him growing up,
which is a dumb sequence, but yeah.
Right. They show him as like a 8-year-old being bullied, and then another sequence where he's a teen and he's
being
beaten by a stepfather or someone
played by Alice Cooper.
Yes. And he loves it.
Yeah, well, he's learnlearned to
enjoy the pain. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't affect him anymore.
So he's just like sadomasochist, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah, they try to make it seem like it's not his fault that he is the way he is or whatever. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah, the story and the lore just didn't.
I don't know. I also wanted to know. I mean, his mom was a nun.
Supposedly, yes.
Yes. I wanted to know, like,
in an insane asylum.
Asylum, yes.
Boy, that's a hard sentence to say.
Yeah. She was assaulted by 100 different
maniacs.
Yes.
Yes.
And I wanted to know, I mean, did she give him up? Like, did she raise him?
I don't know.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, like, what was his upbringing?
I don't know.
Like, was he adopted? Did he have loving... It didn't seem like he had loving...
No.
Parenting.
I mean,
or if he was in foster... Like, maybe he was at a foster father.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I wanted to know.
So he must have been fostered or something, because Alice Cooper wasn't his birth father, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
That will never be explained.
Maybe in the new Nightmare.
Yeah, maybe we don't know. I don't know.
But this one didn't do enough to push the lore in the right direction. I think it really just made things more confusing. And I think part of the confusion is the timeline that they present at the beginning, where they say, okay, so the movie starts out kind of weird to begin with. It starts off with like a Nietzsche quote. Mm-hmm. And then it's followed up by a Freddy Krueger quote from like one of the either 4 or 5, I don't remember which one, where it says like, "Welcome to primetime, bitch." And
it's all like pretty much the memorable quotes that he has said when he's killed someone in the past 5 movies. Yeah,
which, I mean, we'll get into his dialogue later. I don't know, but anyway, like, and then they show like this map as if it's becoming like this sci-fi action movie, and it's like Springwood, Ohio, which I didn't know that was the town.
Oh, I knew it was Ohio.
I had no idea it was. Yeah, I didn't know that they had established that was the town. 10 years from now is all it says.
From now.
Yeah, it doesn't say the year. It just says 10 years from now.
They should have just said 10 years later.
So, like, is that 2001? Because the movie was released in 1991. But it seems like
10 years
it's assumed to be 10 years from the events of the last movie, which would be 1999.
Yeah, I assumed it was 10 years from, when the girl from the last movie, Alice, she gives birth.
Yeah, it's tough to say.
And is it 10 years later? That's why I was like, oh, are we going to see her 10-year-old?
I don't know. But
that's what I
the phrasing
was thinking.
The phrasing on this weird map that looks like it's trying to be like this weird sci-fi post-apocalyptic thing. And it's like a news whatever. So that there's like mass suicides and mental problems for the entire town, and like, so many of the kids are I mean, they say mass suicides, but really just like Freddy has gone through and killed every person. It's been 10 years, and they're just skipping a whole bunch of torture and torment and death that he's imparted on the teens and a lot of the adults in the
I'm
in
assuming.
The town.
So did he kill the woman in the 5th movie? Alice, the one that gave birth.
He must have, because she's gone. And it's been 10 years. I just
wish she was around. I don't know.
We missed it. It's off camera.
Baby.
Off-camera death.
So all those people are dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the only people that were left were the people who were at that fair, right? Basically.
Yeah.
When they go to the
town.
There's
like 3 people.
Yeah.
And then the John Doe.
Yeah,
kid.
And the only like young person is this John Doe. That's all he's ever referred to in the movie.
Right.
Is John Doe, who we meet in the sequence after they show that map, where they show he's on a plane. There's a bunch of turbulence, and then like this little girl turns around, saying that Freddy Krueger is gonna make you help him. Mm-hmm. Right, and then the woman next to him like falls out of the plane, and then he falls out of the plane, and he wakes up and he's in a house, and that house is falling out of the sky too.
Yeah, and they do like a Wizard of Oz type of sequence.
Yeah. Yeah, they do this wizard like with like the Night on Ball Mountain sound and everything, and like Freddy Krueger is dressed up like a wicked witch, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you and your little soul too."
That's just I mean, it just becomes silly at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, like the first couple movies, like even the first 3 or so, they were kind of silly, goofy at times, but it was still like
scary.
Yeah, it still had the elements of terror and horror at its core.
Yeah.
This movie especially is just turning pure cartoon.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think if I were to see this when it came out, I probably would have loved it because of that. It would have been like an Army of Darkness type of a thing where it's like, oh, this is just goofy fun, and I like that. It's not so scary after all. But like in the context of the series, it's garbage.
Oh yeah. It's not. This movie is honestly not scary at all. Yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's more cartoon-like.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was like going towards kids.
I don't know. I mean, it would have had to have still been R-rated.
I mean, yeah, but this is the other thing is like the popularity of him was like peak at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I remember kids dressed up as him.
Oh yeah.
For Halloween, and they were like, "Oh, I'm cool. I'm Freddy Krueger. Isn't that so cool?" But they're dressing up as someone, like, if you really think about it, they're dressing up as someone that killed kids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, most monsters kill kids.
I
You
know.
want to dress up like monsters. I don't know. I was the guy dressing up like Waldo and stuff like that, and Pee Wee Herman, so that's who I went on. You just gave me this look. You're like, ugh.
I don't know. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know. I'm okay. I can't.
Those
I
are
dressed
my
up as
Halloween
people
costumes,
that I
like Waldo and Pee Wee Herman and stuff like that.
I liked, I
Care
guess.
Bears and shit. When I was younger.
When I was younger, I don't think I had a choice. My mom, I was an angel once.
Mm.
Like, my mom just made me this costume. I didn't choose it. It's one of the costumes that I actually chose that I remember was me dressed up as Janet Jackson during the Rhythm Nation era.
Okay.
I wish I had a picture of that. I can't find it. I don't know. It's gone forever. But all right, well, let's go back. I don't know. I don't want to talk about me dressed up as Janet.
But anyway, so yeah, this guy he's falling a lot, and he falls out of Springwood, Ohio, and he hits his head on a rock, and so he no longer remembers who he is. But he has this article in his hand about a missing Krueger girl that they're trying to find, and he finds his way. He gets picked up by the police and taken to this shelter for troubled youth, basically. Is what it seems like. Does that sound right? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it has like a couple psychiatrists. So it's basically like, again, the third movie.
Third one.
Right.
Yeah.
With like our cat, where she's taken to this home with other kids who are all having the same dream, and none of the adults believe her. This is a little bit different in that one of the therapists is having the same dreams, but none of the kids are. And there's fewer kids there.
Yes.
This time. Now it's just like 3 kids and then 2 therapists, and then John Doe is the 4th. So yeah, it's like repeating history again. So we have Maggie, who's the lead therapist. She's played by Lisa Zane, who's the older sister of Billy Zane.
Yeah.
And then we also have Doc, who's played by Yaphet Kotto. And he knows how to control his dreams, and he, knows that something weird can happen or whatever. He knows about the dream demons and stuff, so he's kind of the voice of reason. Mm-hmm. Maggie is still skeptical and thinks that she needs to take him back to Springwood, Ohio to unlock his memories to cure this amnesia.
Yeah.
Because all John Doe knows is that he has to stay awake or else he will be controlled or tormented by Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know anything else other than he needs to stay awake and that he is the last surviving teenager of his hometown. That's all he knows. And so they go back to Springwood.
Yes.
But the 3 teens who are also in the shelter are stowing away in the van because they had some side plot of escaping the home, this shelter area, to run away on their own and make it big
in LA.
In LA. Yeah. And so they were going to be, take that van, and they were hiding out, and so they're along for the ride.
Right, yeah. And then we can say that one of the teens is Breckin Meyer.
Yeah, Breckin Meyer in his first feature role, I believe.
Yeah,
if
this is
I
right before
found that correctly.
Clueless.
And then Leslie Dean and Ricky Dean Logan are the other ones. Tracy and Carlos and Spencer are their names. So you got Tracy is Leslie Dean. Ricky Dean Logan is Carlos, who has a hearing aid, which we'll definitely be covering in a bit. And then Spencer is just a stoner.
Yeah, so Breckin Meyer was just getting typecasted from the get-go.
Prepping for his Clueless role, Road Trip,
right?
Whatever else.
Well, Road Trip, not really.
He wasn't so much a stoner in that. I don't remember too much.
Can't Hardly Wait.
Garfield, John Arbuckle, was he a stoner?
Oh God, I don't know.
So these 3 teens are stowed away in the van. They go to Springwood, Ohio. Turns out to be a terrible mistake, because that was Freddy's plan all along, is to, bring people into Springwood so that he could escape and go to a new town and start the cycle of violence all over again. Evidently, dreams can't cross city lines.
Right. It's like the children of that city only have the same dreams. A GPS type of... I don't know.
Who knows?
That town was the only town that had this epidemic. I don't know what the...
And no one investigated it or anything. It's just, I don't know. 10 years, the whole population is getting decimated.
Yeah, no one wanted to investigate this at all. They're just like, this town has an abnormal amount of people dying. And now it's like a desolate town.
Yep. 10 years from now. This is what it looks like. So anyway, the logic of the movie doesn't work, but who cares? It's a horror movie, right? Just like...
Yeah, I think this was just meant to be like for fun for
it's just
the audience.
Loose, very, very loose plot. But they get to town, and they're kind of trapped in the town. But first... when they get there, they see that there's like a fair going on. There's like a carnival going on.
Yeah, that was really weird because, 3 people live in this town, so why do they even have this fair?
I think just to have a fun shot of like this old man alone in the bumper car.
That
was like the best. It was like the best joke of the movie. Like this old man
just spinning in a circle on his own
bumper car.
It's you.
But they also got to wedge in cameos from Tom and Roseanne Arnold.
Yep,
who were playing like a couple adults who were left over in the town who wanted to take the kids home with them because they miss having kids in the town. By the way, this is the first feature film appearance of Tom Arnold. He had been in Roseanne, the TV show, and everything, and done stand-up or whatever, but this is his first feature film. Roseanne had done She-Devil and Look Who's Talking 2 before this.
Yes.
So she was well established in the industry, of course, also by her TV show. Also, just side note that I want to quickly pass over, 1991 also marked the second TV comedy special for Roseanne, which was called Roseanne Barr Live from Trump Castle. So moving on.
Well, did you see how they were credited? Do you want to talk about...
I don't remember. It was just like old man and woman at fair or something like that, wasn't it?
So, like at the end credits, Tom Arnold is credited as, he's just known as the childless man, but he's credited as Mr. Tom Arnold, and then Roseanne Barr has a name. Her name is Ethel. But she's credited as Mrs. Tom Arnold.
Oh, okay. That's what you meant.
At the end credits.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So it didn't even say Roseanne Barr as Ethel. It was Mrs. Tom Arnold.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff around that time of like them and their romance and how like super into each other they were. And like that was the focus of almost every conversation that they had on TV appearances, and they would do
they were
talk
all
shows together and stuff.
Into each other at this time.
And then they were not.
They were, and then they weren't.
And then at some point they were not. So yeah, they're in this town. They see the fair just for creep factor, I guess, and have that little cameo. And then the 3 teens are told to go back to town, and then they're, Maggie and Jon are gonna go work on his memories somehow. They're gonna try to find the location and the picture of the article that he brought with him. The 3 teens get lost because Freddy won't let them leave, even though they're not asleep. He has manipulated the town enough that they keep going around in circles and they get lost until they have to...
They go around like 3 blocks and they're lost.
Okay, here's the other part of it that I found really stupid. In the back, Carlos... Well, I guess Carlos fell asleep in the thing, but that shouldn't affect them getting lost. It shouldn't affect all 3 of them being able to escape or not. Anyway, Carlos is in the back... Leslie Dean Tracy is the character name. She asks for help with the map, and then there's this super scary part of the movie where the map just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's unfolding the map, but there's more to unfold, and then he unfolds that, and there's still more. Like, it is this long sequence of him like unfolding this map that I guess is that supposed to be scary, that he's like surrounded by so much paper, and then at the end it just says "you're fucked" at
Yeah.
the end. Like, so it's like it's a punchline
Like, I
at
was
the end,
wondering
but
if it was calling back to
like he's not in danger, so
the
it's like
the last movie with Dream Child, where it was, you know, the friend that went into the comic book. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's giving them too much credit. That was a cool sequence though in the fifth one. That, you know, like, but again, derivative of Take on Me. So
right? Yeah.
Another stealing ideas for.
There's a lot. I think that they just. I mean, I think they just want the viewer. I think the viewers are like, "Oh, this is Take on Me. How cool!"
Yeah.
I mean, this is just very pop culture-y.
Yeah, they just weren't trying to be
like calling
enough.
in on like whatever was popular at that time.
Yeah, they gave up on having their own identity.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the map says you're fucked, and I guess,
so scary.
Yeah, so scary. But they give up and they go to an abandoned house to rest. And guess which house they're in?
The original house.
Yeah.
This is an abandoned town. There's like probably thousands of homes to go into.
Freddy guided them.
I know.
You know? He has control of that town, evidently, even while people are awake at this point. But he can't leave unless he's in somebody, I guess. But he was in somebody. They're in the house. Carlos falls asleep. And that's when...
He falls asleep again.
Yeah, he falls asleep again. He fell asleep in the van and he was safe. Except for the map, that dangerous map. And then he falls asleep in the bed, and that's when his one characteristic becomes the exploits, just like in every other Elm Street movie, where a character has like one thing that identifies them.
Yeah.
And then that's how they're going to die. So he has this hearing aid that they established early on, where if he takes it out, he can't hear anything. Out of either ear, evidently. In his dream, he meets his mother, who needs to clean his ears. His ears are filthy or something, so he takes this Q-tip.
That gigantic Q-tip through his brain.
And then he goes in one side and out the other and pops out the hearing aid. So it's an okay effect, not a super cool one. But then at that point, all we can hear is what Carlos is hearing. Is like basically mostly silence, just like breathing and like the thump of a heartbeat.
See, okay, I thought it was cool that they did the whole silence, you know, it's him breathing, him falling down. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that has the potential to be scary.
Yeah.
But then you have Freddy Krueger right
messing
behind
with
him, taunting him, like giving him the nya type of faces and stuff like that, and it just makes it a huge stupid joke again. I hated that.
It started off kind of cool, and then it didn't.
Yeah.
Go the way it should have. It should have been scarier, and it wasn't. I mean, this
been
entire movie was just meant to be like childlike in a way.
It was. It had potential, but it just didn't live up to that at all. So Freddy gives him the hearing aid back, but it's a parasitic thing, which like latches onto his ear and like pulses his whatever. It's like it makes his like head expand and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, so that's a really cool effect. That's probably the best effect in the movie. Is what they did with like the prosthetics and whatnot for the ear thing. But then they go back and do like a not so timely pin drop joke. Like back then, do you remember the phone commercials where it was like
you can hear a pin drop?
Yeah, I think it was like Sprint.
Yeah, they're just recalling. Yeah, anything.
So it's just
that
like
was
a pop
popular.
culture reference that doesn't hold up. But yeah, he's like gonna do a pin drop, and the pin drop is everything is hyper hearing now with this parasitic ear thing. So like the water's dripping and it's like destroying his brain.
Like being dropped in his brain. Yeah.
And so he's scared of this pin drop because it's gonna make such a loud noise that he doesn't want it to happen. So he rushes in and catches it, and then Freddy drops a bunch of pins all at once, and it's a terrible
kind of
noise,
a dumb
and it makes
death.
his head explode.
Yeah. Kind of a dumb death.
Kind of a dumb
well,
death.
they're all the deaths in
it's
here.
It's interesting that his head explodes, but and then Freddy Krueger gives a stupid one-liner. Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Yeah, that always has to say some sort of pun.
But he didn't in the first couple.
I think he started to, and then, since these movies became so popular, it was like, oh, this is his shtick now, is to come up with a pun or these dad jokes, sort of.
I hate it. I don't like it at all. The other kid, Spencer, he's next up. He's fallen asleep on the couch, watching TV that doesn't work.
He also got high beforehand.
Yeah, he also got high because that's his characteristic. And so he's watching this TV that in reality is completely broken. There's a hole in it. I think maybe... No, it's not the same one that the girl was sucked into before.
No, because that was the third one in the hospital.
Yeah. But yeah, broken TV, but
it would
he
be
can
funny
see things.
if they did do that and her body was still there, like just hanging from. But that would have been like 10, 15 years. She would have been like a skeleton.
Yeah.
They should do stuff like bring back the old deaths and see all the.
They should hire you as a consultant.
I was 11 at that point.
It doesn't matter. You had better ideas.
Well, at that time, now they should have been like, hey, bring back all these old deaths.
So yeah, he's watching TV, and then we get our next cameo in the form of Johnny Depp, who was in the first movie.
Yes.
And also,
but it's not. I think it was Johnny Depp as Johnny Depp, because it was like, "This is your brain on drugs."
He was doing a fake commercial. Yeah, he was doing a parody of another PSA at the time of "This is your brain on drugs," and he questions, and then Freddy hits him with the frying pan. I don't know, because he's okay. He is credited in the credits not as Johnny Depp, but as Oprah Noodle Mantra.
Yeah.
I don't know why or where that comes from.
Is that just like a inside joke, I guess?
I don't know. I don't care.
I know.
But you may know Johnny Depp from the movie Tusk.
Oh, God.
And nothing else.
Right.
I got sick of Johnny Depp a long time ago. Even before recent stuff, I got sick of his crap around the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm out.
Yeah, things went downhill. But I did read Rachel Talalay.
Mm-hmm.
She knew Johnny Depp from, she was producing Crybaby before this, which was a year.
Yeah, 1990.
1990.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, a lot of production and the team and the crew that worked on Crybaby worked on this movie.
Yeah. As
well. But I guess Johnny Depp did this as a favor to Rachel Talalay to be this cameo part. So he didn't even do it just to be as a callback to his first role. He did it as a favor to her.
As a thank you. That's interesting. Yeah, they're both New Line movies. Almost all of John Waters' movies, or maybe all of them, after a certain point, are New Line.
Crybaby is better than this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Johnny Depp movies were still worth watching around the Crybaby era. And man, I wish we had a John Waters 1991 movie, but we don't.
I know. That sucks.
So, oh well. So Spencer Breckenmeyer, he's tripping out. They play Iron Butterflies in Inagata Devita, and he gets sucked into the TV through this cartoon sort of semi-sequence, and then it turns into this really bad parody of a video game. And Freddy Krueger says great graphics, but no, it's not. They're really terrible.
I mean,
and it's just this really everything about this movie. It's a short ass movie, but everything in this movie is so drawn out more than it needs to be.
Yeah, that death. I was like, okay, he gets sucked into TV where it's all psychedelics, and then all of a sudden that video game thing, that scene was it seemed like a half hour long to me.
Yeah.
That was a third of the movie was his death.
Because Freddy's controlling him.
Yeah.
He has the controller, and he makes a power glove joke and everything. And then in the real world, all of the people who are still alive are seeing Breckenmeyer's Spencer bouncing up and down and whatever in this stop motion animation thing. So he's rigid and stiff, but he's bouncing, doing the Mario jumps and whatever in real life. And it just keeps happening. He's punching the walls and everything. but it just takes forever to get to the point where he's actually killed. And the effect for that one is just like his stomach going in and out.
Yeah, as he's being punched.
As he's being like pummeled.
Yeah.
And then like, that's not
the
a
other
good,
thing.
There's no payoff.
Yeah, the other thing with this movie, it's like all these characters, all the kids that were getting killed in this movie, they were all visited by a parent. So
not always in the dream though, because Spencer got visited by a parent in the shelter, but was he visited in the dream, or was it...
in the video game, pretty much his dad. It was a cartoon version of his dad saying, "Be like me, and then he had to hit him. No, I'm not gonna be like you.
Wait, but did John Doe?
No, I guess
because he's the next to die. Spoiler.
But I'm just saying, like the three, like
Leslie Bean's character Tracy.
But she didn't die.
She didn't die, but she did get visited by a parent in her dream.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all of the three original kids in that,
and you can say Maggie shelter as well, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're all visited by a parent, including Maggie. Yes.
Yeah.
Except for John Doe. I guess
John Doe. Yeah.
Don't know if they were trying to do that on purpose or...
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, Spencer's dead, Carlos is dead.
Oh, well, then we also have to talk about the power glove that Freddy uses.
Go for it.
So, Nintendo did not give permission for them to use this mock of the power glove.
Yeah. But it didn't look like the power glove.
But it's alluding because he's got like buttons on. Yeah, he said the word power glove. I've got my power glove or whatever.
And they're also saying, now I'm playing with power, which was their slogan. Is now you're playing with power. So I don't remember, did anything come of that? I think it's probably just fair use. Like it's fair use and parody. I don't think they have any actual
I don't think anything come of it. It's just that they weren't given...
Yeah, they weren't given
permission, but
they didn't use real Nintendo
New Line
products.
Cinema was like, I don't care, they can do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use it anyway.
But New Line should not have been very careful because they were.
But Nintendo never sued them.
Trouble on multiple occasions.
Yeah, Nintendo never sued them. It was just like you never.
They're not
asked
happy.
us,
This is not sanctioned.
Yeah.
We learned that Maggie is Freddy's daughter.
Yes.
All right. Some bullshit plot happens, and Maggie is Freddy's daughter. John Doe thought he was Freddy's son.
Yeah.
Because they knew that he was trying to get into something through the child, and he thought he was being kept alive because he was Freddy's son.
Yeah. And then when John Doe is dreaming, he's like, I know why you've kept me alive for so long.
Yeah.
And Freddy's like, oh, you think I'm your father?
Yeah, you
nope.
think I'm your daddy? Nope.
I mean, that could have been like a possible parent meeting, because John Doe probably thought that Freddy Krueger was his dad.
I guess, but he's not.
I know.
Maybe the dad was on that plane somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, John Doe keeps waking up in the same house, and he has to escape the house in various different ways. Like it's on fire, or it's like falling from the sky or whatever. And like I don't understand the purpose of that recurring dream. But at some point, he's falling from the sky again. He's in a parachute, and that's when Freddy cuts the cords and he falls to his death. I guess it's just a recall to that first time we saw him dreaming, but whatever. I don't know. Again, it wasn't very creative. He just cuts the parachute off of him.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, no, Freddy's like, no, I'm not your dad. I just needed you to move to another town, basically.
To get to my daughter.
To get to my daughter, so I can move to another town.
Which is so... Why couldn't Freddy do that? I'm beyond confused.
Who knows? I mean, they're blood, right? You'd think they'd have like an intimate connection and be able to... And
if he can get into the...
And she's been dreaming about being the daughter and like seeing the dad. Like, so she's kind of in that dream world already.
Yeah.
I don't...
Whatever.
The plot doesn't make sense.
We're not going to try and make any sense of it.
Now it becomes like a Maggie vehicle with Tracy. They make it back to town whatever. I don't know what the new town's name is.
Yeah, and the other thing,
it.
wasn't it like their town is 2 miles away?
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 miles away.
Which is so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like 2-3 miles is what, 10-15 minutes?
I mean,
drive?
Depending on how many stop signs you got and stoplights, I guess, sure.
But it's just literally the next town over,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still confused why it just didn't, bleed on over.
Yeah. I don't know.
With the killings, but who knows?
Freddy respects borders.
Like, is it... Now I'm thinking, like, how... I mean, this could be like Buffy, where, like, that's the Hellmouth.
I guess. They don't... I don't know. There's so much that's just not...
I know. We're trying to make sense of it, and it's never going to make sense.
It's just not going to happen. They're back at the clinic or whatever, and nobody remembers John Doe or Spencer or Carlos at the shelter, except for Doc.
Yes.
And Maggie and Tracy, who were there at the time. The rest of the people are like, we never had anybody like that. Like, none of these people existed. Because Freddy had somehow been able to manipulate their minds of the people a town away again. Somehow.
Right.
So, I don't get that. But Doc remembers. And Doc understands. And Doc is going to help by controlling Maggie's dreams and getting Freddy into the real world, because they sort of bring back that principle from the first movie where if you're holding on to him in the dream when you wake up, he is going to be there alive when you wake up. Because Doc had grabbed part of his sweater, woke up, and the part of the sweater was still in his hands when he woke up. So that's the plan, is to put Maggie to sleep and then bring Freddy into the real world and then kill him that way.
Yeah.
So.
That whole scene was kind of dumb, but...
Which part? The part when they are
where
in
she
the
finally
dream, or when they bring him into the real world?
When they bring him into the real world.
Yeah. I mean, the dream was really forgettable, too.
Yeah.
That's what I have. I don't know. I have so much... There's so little creativity in these movies. I don't know. Like, I want the dream world. I want, like, the manipulation of, like, time and space and like, give me angles. Give me, unique set dressings. Don't give me just stupid pipes and hallways.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, in the third one, they have that sequence where they're, like, jumping in and out of mirrors. Like, that's cool as hell. Like, do stuff like that. What they did instead to try to make this cool is they turned the sequence into 3D.
Ugh.
Which we did not get to see. And we weren't even fully sure, because Doc has these 3D glasses, and he's like,
put these on.
Yeah, put these on, because whatever you see in your, like, these can be whatever you want in your dream. And, like, Maggie isn't actually wearing them in any of the dream sequences at all.
No, it's...
And like, so I was confused by that.
She puts them on before she goes to sleep.
I guess, but, like, she doesn't even... Does she? I don't remember
thought...
seeing that. Here's what I did. I found something in this.
Okay.
It's from IMDb, so it may not be fully true. But apparently there are multiple versions of this movie. The theatrical cut of this movie was longer at 100 minutes.
Okay.
And then after it left theaters, New Line made all home video, future releases, TV, whatever, 88 minutes. And they removed a lot of character intros, like Maggie's adopted mother appeared before she did in the final film, and stuff like that. And they also eliminated a shot where Maggie looks directly into the camera holding the glasses and says, "Now," which is supposed to cue the start
for
of the 3D
whole
sequence for the people who are in the
whole
theater.
audience to put on their 3D glasses.
Yeah. So that was never restored, evidently. So there was a cut, there was a part where, she cues the audience, like, now do the 3D glasses. And then there's like some line inside the movie where it's supposed to be the cue to take the glasses off. I think Doc is like, you don't
like
need
at
these
the
anymore,
very
or something
end,
like that.
and then they show her taking it off.
Yeah.
At the end, when she finally gets Freddy into the real world. But then she's
No, it can't be, because you definitely need the 3D glasses after he's dead. Or while he's dying.
Yeah.
Because that goes right
to
the camera.
I think it's at the very end, after she kills him.
Yeah. They say something like, you don't need these anymore, or something like that.
Because she sits down, and you see her taking them off, and they kind of, like, disappear in her hands as she's taking them off.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They, like, dissolve or something.
Yeah.
The other cool thing about the 3D glasses, though, is that they had an ad for House Party 2 on the side. Which is another New Line movie from 1991, so coming soon on the podcast, maybe.
At some point.
At some point. I kind of want like a...
You want those glasses?
Yeah, I want those glasses.
If you were not scared. I know I did not see this in the theater. I think I saw this later on when I was like an older teen.
Mm. Well, you saw the shortened version. I can't imagine sitting
I think
through,
maybe because it was on a random channel during Halloween. And
can you imagine sitting through another 12 minutes of this movie?
It was if it was all like 3D stuff coming at you. I mean,
no,
during
it wasn't.
Oh, okay, then forget it. I don't know. I don't know.
As far as
like,
I could tell,
building
it's
up
just
character.
that one shot that was on death stuff.
Well, unless it showed like more backstory on these people's history.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it would have, but would it have helped? I don't know. Or would it be... I think they probably made the right decision, because don't you just want to get to the horror stuff? Don't you just want to, like, keep the pacing going of, all right, here's a tiny bit of plot, now kill somebody.
Yeah.
A little bit of plot, now kill somebody. So, like, having another 12 minutes of garbage time in between that, because... Again, this movie moves super slow. Even when Freddy's on screen, he delivers his lines very slowly and deliberately, and like he's taking his time with Carlos and Spencer, and it's like everything's drawn out. I just can't imagine another 12 minutes of that crap. This movie's bad. So, yeah, honestly, the dream sequence where Maggie's in the dream is completely forgettable to me. Tracy's dream with the father was another cool effect, although kind of more subtle, where her abusive father, her lecherous father, transforms into Freddy, mostly off camera. But yeah, that was an interesting effect.
I mean, in the beginning of the movie, she's like taking like kickboxing type lessons with Doc, so she was able to kick her father's ass by using these moves.
Right. Yeah, because he was somebody who needed to be fought off, and so that was why she had that.
She had that ability, and then she woke up from her dream by like burning herself in the dream to wake herself up, and then like she kicked her father's ass and like burned herself to wake up
after he had turned into Freddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she stays alive throughout the movie. And then I guess there was some cool stuff where, like, when they go in the dream world, they're showing how Maggie's like trying to navigate the brain. And so like they're like swooshing, it's like pre-Fight Club, where they're going in between the brain and like going through the wires, and like they're going around corners, and like the doors of the brain get shut off and stuff like that. So like that was okay, I guess. But then they also had this stuff like the dream demons, which are basically just like wiggly worms with faces.
I don't know anything like.
I still don't fully understand it.
I don't understand the dream demons either, and I was like, is this like a Stephen King type of thing? How
I don't know.
A lot of his books kind of had like demons.
I think the only thing I know is that
this is like the first time they bring up these dream demons all of a sudden. Like like when Freddy grows up, he makes a deal with these demons.
Yes, and that gives him the power. So basically, like, they're just finding a way to explain away how he was able to infiltrate dreams. It's through these
dream demons.
It's through these three things that look like, if you ever played like the Sega Dreamcast Seaman, it's like that, but with like more demonic faces or something.
It's like sperm with like skull heads on the top of it.
Yeah, or like skeleton fish almost.
Yeah.
So it's just three of those little wiggly fucks. inside, giving him the power.
Yeah.
But they don't give him the power to leave Springwood, Ohio. So that's a weird that's a weird territory for dream
demons. It just came out of nowhere,
to be
and it was like, oh yeah, I made this deal when I was younger.
Freddy's in the real world. Right, they find him and like Maggie's like grabbing him and whatever.
That whole scene with him, grabbing
from
him
behind, and he can't escape somehow, even though he has all this power inside.
He has
to manipulate
like a
life.
hand. He has that glove to like he could kill her if he wanted to by reaching around. Or I mean, he's been stronger with other teens in the past movies. Like, how come all of a sudden
he can change his shape and size at will?
Yeah,
but he can't escape a bear hug from behind. Freddy's in the real world now. They're in the basement of this shelter, which has a whole bunch of confiscated weapons that the police were supposed to come and pick up, but they never can pick up because the police are incompetent in these movies. Alright? So they have like pipe bombs and ninja stars and nunchucks or whatever the hell else. They have a mace that they, show to camera in 3D. And so Freddy is in the whatever, and then like Maggie throws like axes and ninja stars and everything to pin him to the wall, basically, and then ends up having a little bit of dialogue, and then
his glove falls off.
They fight for the glove, and he gets killed through his own glove. So
well, I mean, justice. That whole scene, she picks it up, and he's like, "Oh, doesn't it feel good to have that on your hand?"
He was trying to convince her to come to the dark side. And
yeah.
Which, whatever. I mean, that's fine. I understand that aspect of it. Just, it went on too long, again. Yeah. It was like, maybe, they could have cut out half the lines and it would have gotten the same effect in terms of trying to convince the daughter to not kill him and join forces.
Right. But this is the last movie, so there can't be extra.
This is the final nightmare. This is the final one.
Yes. So if she did put that glove on to join his side, what if the movie just ended like, okay, so I'm the bad girl now.
Right.
Kind of like how Candyman is, where the woman becomes the Candyman.
They could have. But they didn't.
I know.
Yeah. Instead, she stabs him with his own glove, and then they stick a pipe bomb in his chest.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Doc
is able to rip a whole door off of his hinges to let her escape in time. And then he dies by blowing up. But right before he blows up, he says, "Kids, what are you gonna do, kids?"
No, but that whole 3D, like his face, like coming at you like 50 times.
That was cool. I like that though.
If we had 3D glasses on, it was like, coming at you a bunch of ways.
I just hated like the shrugging, like, kids, am I right?
Yeah,
like,
what are you gonna do?
Is that type of delivery for kids? Like,
I don't know.
Kids.
It's like to make people laugh. If we saw this in the theaters now with 3D, I think I would enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have enjoyed it with the crowd.
With a crowd, and if it's like a midnight showing and we had 3D glasses and watching this now, I would be like laughing and...
So his head flies at the camera, and it opens up to reveal another Freddy head that explodes, and then the worm thingies
come out. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh shit, what do we do now?" type of thing. Like, go to someone else's body? Like what?
I guess. I mean, I don't think they blew up. I think they're
still alive, but where do they go?
Who knows? We'll find out in New Nightmare, maybe. I don't know.
People who've seen New Nightmare are probably, yelling at us.
I thought New Nightmare was the one. I thought this was the one where they're making the movie, right?
It's very
about
meta.
Making the movie.
Yeah.
I thought that's what this one was going to be.
Oh, okay.
But evidently that's New Nightmare.
Yeah, I'll watch New Nightmare if it's
it.
Anywhere available, because I'm curious.
But then
because it is redirected by Wes Craven.
Yeah.
So
we will have a Wes Craven movie on the podcast at some point because he did People Under the Stairs.
Okay.
In '91. Then the credits roll, and while the credits are rolling, along the side, they show all of the past deaths.
That was cool.
To remind you of all of the creative ass stuff that
hey,
they
remember
used to
these
do.
cool things?
Yes. Remember the good movies?
Yeah.
And even the not so good movies that still had cooler effects than this garbage?
Like better deaths.
So yeah, it was just like reminding you of like, these were the good times. Sorry for this shit. But then you also get an Iggy Pop song playing.
Yeah, the soundtrack for this movie was interesting because it had a lot of Goo Goo Dolls on it.
It did have Goo Goo Dolls.
I was like, is this how Goo Goo Dolls got their fame? Like,
it was not
being on the soundtrack.
It was not super poppy Goo Goo Dolls.
No,
because I do not like the poppy Goo Goo Dolls of like the mid '90s.
I don't mind them.
I really don't like, the City of Angels era, whatever.
I don't mind it, but I mean, these songs were just like kind of basic, grungy type songs that they did. But yeah, almost every other song on this soundtrack was a Goo Goo Dolls song, which I thought was funny and interesting.
But yeah, you have like Iggy Pop. I wish they would have gone back to the rap stuff.
And then you have there was Chub Rock.
But yeah, Chub Rock, I mean, that wasn't the song made for the movie. They just
No. Yeah, like Nightmare on My Street. Like all those songs.
Right. We'll talk about Nightmare on My Street.
Okay, all right.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But no, like in movie 4, they had the Fat Boys.
Right, yeah, before, song. Yeah. It was
and then they had Cool Mo D in number 5. And now they go to Iggy Pop with a really bad song of like, Why Was I Born? And he's like, why?
That's just Iggy Pop. I don't know.
It was
Why Was I Born? And then Freddy's Dead.
And then Freddy's Dead was the subtitle. So it was made for this movie. And then they had a bouncier Junk Monkey song for the rest of the credits after they got rid of the after they showed all the deaths, and then they give a little RIP message at the end of like Freddy, like 1984 to 1991 or whatever. They showed like an RIP message.
They should have showed some bloops.
They should have shown some bloops. I mean, they definitely turned this into a stupid Acme Looney Tunes cartoon.
Like some bloopers for how Breckenmeyer, like that whole scene was filmed.
Yeah.
Show some behind the scenes.
Show some, yeah.
I know there's a documentary, which I have not seen either, about, this whole franchise.
I think it's super long. I think because it covers, the 6 or 7 movies.
I'll watch that because I'm curious.
3 or 4 hours long or something like that.
That's another thing massive. I have not seen. Like, this was the last movie I saw of the franchise.
It's part of the box set DVD. So,
okay.
I don't know if it's available separately ever, but anyway, yeah, straight up Acme bullshit. Wasn't, I mean, it was meant to be fun, but again, because of the context of the series, it just felt like a de-evolution to me, and it just wasn't enjoyable because it wasn't the Elm Street movies that I wanted. Again, if I would have, taken it alone, if this would have been my first Elm Street movie, I probably would have really liked it, and then also appreciated the Nightmare on Elm Streets previously for being darker in tone and like more creative and serious. So I think, the fact that I watched this 6th is probably what really hurts it. Should we talk about cast stuff real quick before moving on to other stuff here? So Rachel Talalay directed this. This is her directorial debut. She also directed Tank Girl.
Yeah.
And then also mostly has done TV since then. She's done, most recently like stuff like Riverdale, Flash, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Sherlock, Doctor Who. She got her start at New Line working as a production manager. So she's been involved in all 6 Elm Street movies in one way or another. She was the production manager for 1 and 2. Then she moved up to line producer for 3, straight up producer for number 4. So she's been involved in like everything, and she also did work, like you said, with John Waters for Hairspray and Crybaby and other earlier John Waters movies. She got her start in the entertainment industry by meeting him at some point in her history. Michael De Luca, who wrote this, is actually most known as being a producer as well, and he has 3 Oscar nominations for producing, which is actually what the Best Picture nominee is. That actually goes to the producers. So Captain Phillips, Moneyball, and Social Network were all his. and he's done a ton of stuff. Way too many lists.
Where was his writing for this movie?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he did like Moneyball.
Yeah, I mean, well, producers, they don't write the scripts. They
They
help guide and shape them, but they don't actually write the words. So I think maybe he took this experience and realized, I'm not going to do this full time. I'm going to focus more on the behind the scenes, like, let's get this production going thing. But he'd also been an executive producer for this movie, as well as writing it. He was a consultant for the Freddy's Nightmares TV series and wrote a couple of those scripts as well. So I didn't realize that the Freddy's... I guess it makes sense that the Freddy Krueger Nightmares TV series happened alongside, like...
These movies?
Yeah, like around 3 or 4. I think like 1988 or so is when that started, I think. And then it looks like In the Mouth of Madness is the only other feature that Michael DeLuca wrote or is credited as screenplay writer. So I've never seen that one. Robert Englund, everyone knows him.
Yeah.
He's Freddy Krueger. He's also a big time character actor in a bunch of stuff. But what I really wanted to mention was he also directed the original 976 Evil, which starred Leslie Dean, who played Tracy. So that was her film debut, and so she was directed by Robert Englund previously to this. And the sequel to that movie is not his, but we will watch it at some point because it is from 1991. Also, Robert Englund is credited as being one of the vocalists in The Lion King, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I don't know how true that is. I was trying to look up more information, but like he's like...
Does he
like
do
one of the backup vocalists? He's like one of the backing
chanting
vocalists. I don't know. He's credited that way though. So I don't know how true that is. So, but that is just a weird oddball credit that I would not have expected to see Freddy Krueger in The Lion King in some way. Lisa Zane, we already talked about a little bit. She had done Bad Influence prior to this, which starred Rob Lowe and James Spader. She's also in 2 other 1991 movies, so we'll see her again in The Passion of Martin and also Femme Fatale. But she has not done a ton of stuff that I found that I was familiar with, so I apologize if I'm missing something there. We didn't even mention John Doe by name in terms of like his actual name. Yeah. Sean Greenblatt is his name. He did not do a whole lot of acting either. He was in Chopper Chicks and Zombie Town. He was in Newsies. And
okay.
Probably what's most interesting about his story is that his daughter is becoming much more famous than he is at this point. She is probably most known right now for playing a young Gamora in Avengers Infinity War.
Okay.
But she's doing a ton of stuff for like these like teeny focused Netflix series and stuff like that. So his daughter is very involved in the industry and doing well for herself. Leslie Dean, who played Tracy, she was in a few things like Girlfriend from Hell, To Protect and Serve, and Plump Fiction. I forgot that movie existed until I saw that credit list. She was a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, and she also was the lead singer for 2 different bands, which I've never heard of. Maybe you have. Femme to Femme?
No.
Okay. That was like, I think, mid-90s era.
Okay.
And then another band which looks to be a little bit more recent called Scary Cherry and the Bang Bangs.
Okay.
I listened to a little bit of their music. Not for me. Not my thing.
Okay.
So... we already talked about Breckenmeyer. Yaphet Kotto recently passed away. Probably most known to most people right now as for Homicide, Life on the Streets. He was in 122 episodes of that. He was in Midnight Run, Alien. He was the main bad guy in Live and Let Die. He was in Running Man. He's been in a bunch of different stuff. And we'll see him again in the 1991 movie Hangfire. So... I think that's about all that there is to mention, other than I saw that there was some brief mention of Peter Jackson possibly was involved with an early draft of this, which had Freddy aging and growing weak in the dream world is how it was described in the trivia that I found. I guess I'm kind of glad that he wasn't involved. Peter Jackson, I know he's well known for Lord of the Rings, but like all I keep on focusing on is how he kind of ruined King Kong and missed the point of that. So it's maybe a good thing that he didn't get involved with this, but they kind of ruined the intention of Nightmare on Elm Street anyway, so who knows. Although that did make me want to mention something that we didn't really talk about too much. I don't know. With the whole confusion of the timeline and with how John Doe was thinking he was possibly Freddy's son,
right?
There is the potential theory that he was
The
Jacob from 5.
Okay.
But the timeline just doesn't work when you say it's 10 years from now. You know, he's clearly like 15, 16 years old, and he was just born at the end of the fifth movie. So he would be a 10-year-old if what they say at the beginning is true.
I did find something about the original script was gonna be focused on Alice's son from the Dream Child and then feature the return of the Dream Warriors as Dream Police.
Okay.
So the script would have started off where it would kill off Alice right away, and then it said it would focus on her son, and her son at this time is 16 years old, which is...
So it would have been a farther jump in the future than whatever this movie was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, it sounds more interesting to me. And then Freddy was attempting to use the son to gain access to children outside of Springwood.
Okay, so pretty similar in terms of...
Kinda. So Jacob would, assist him, kind of like in a way how the second movie was. Okay. And then Jacob would fight off the Dream Warriors.
Okay. That would be, I don't know.
And they would be known as the Dream Police, because I think all the Dream Warriors are dead. I mean, they're all dead.
Yeah, they're all dead, so. But they do have, their souls wandering around, because, Carlos was trying to warn Spencer in the movie after he had died.
But I guess it was nixed because Rachel Talalay hated the script. And New Line Cinema, Michael DeLuca, the executive, stepped in to write Freddy's Dead is far more faithful to Lalay's original story pitch.
Don't like it. I think they made a mistake, possibly.
Yeah, that's what I was more curious to see that son come back, because they just built that whole story up in Dream Child. Yeah,
it just went nowhere. So.
We'll never see it. I don't know.
On to awards talk. There were a little bit to mention. Nothing from the major.
Is there MTV?
No MTV Movie Awards.
He wasn't for Best Villain or anything?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
He was not. But what we do have is Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
Okay.
And this is really weird. Okay. It won the award for Worst Film.
Okay.
Which makes sense. But it was nominated for, Best Supporting Actress for Leslie Dean. But she lost to Christina Ricci, who evidently was eligible for Addams Family.
That's a better choice.
Yes, just weird that Addams Family was part of the Fangoria Awards, I guess. I don't know. It seemed like it'd be... Anyway, so it won for Worst Film, but it was also nominated for Best Studio/Big Budget Film. So it won for the worst, but it also was nominated for the best in the same award show.
Because it made so much money.
I guess. It lost to Silence of the Lambs for the Best Studio Film, so no surprise there.
Well, I'm glad it lost to that.
Yeah. And then the other noteworthy one, we haven't talked too much about the Razzies. I know they have actually come up in some of the past movies. I just ignored them for the most part because we had other stuff to talk about. This one, Iggy Pop was nominated for Worst Original Song for the Why Was I Born?
Okay, well, good.
But he lost to Adam's Groove.
Okay, that song is really bad, too.
From MC Hammer. I would much rather listen to MC Hammer's song than Iggy Pop's song.
Me too. I could laugh at that one.
So
the MC Hammer one.
Those are the awards. Iggy Pop. That is not a good song. On to true crime and pop culture.
I just have some marketing, publicity stunts that happened around the
You didn't
premiere.
find any proof of real life instances of people being invaded in their dreams and dying?
No. If I could double check if you want me to.
Our entire towns
Being eradicated by
over 10 years?
dream suicides?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so no true crime.
I could look it up if you want.
It's okay. We'll issue a correction, I guess, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, if I do find something that's... I didn't even think about that because I was like, there's no way that...
Right. Yeah, it's a fantasy world. I'm just joking around with you.
I know, but what if there was? Who knows? I don't know. But the only thing that I really found was the whole publicity stunt around the premiere of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the 10-minute, 3D gimmick. New Line held a funeral for Freddy Krueger at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery that's in LA and invited the press to watch as assorted cast members and production people from Freddy's Dead and prior Elm Street films mournfully watched over an empty coffin adorned with flowers and Freddy's hat and shirt. Which, okay. And then the city of LA declared September 12th, 1991 as Freddy Krueger Day.
Why that day specifically? Just because it was the
It was a way of promoting I guess a lot of the filming was in LA, which returned like a lot of economy back to the city.
That seems weird.
And so, like, as a thank you,
I don't know.
this is like a way of celebrating Nightmare on Elm Street instead of, like Friday the 13th. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street 12th.
I mean, okay. The Friday the 13th movie, or not Friday the 13th, we don't have any Friday the 13th.
The Nightmare
movies.
on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street movies. The first one really saved New Line's ass, but they're not like massive financial hits from there on out.
I mean, this
one
was like
the number 38 movie in the box office of this year. It had a budget of $11 million, so that's not much going back into the city of LA. And it made like 35. I don't know, whatever.
That's I don't
know. They probably paid somebody in the mayor's office or whatever to do a thing and just an honorary.
It employed a lot of local labor and it brought a lot of money back to the city. And as a thank you, they're like, "Oh, we'll say this is Freddy Krueger Day. Let's celebrate a dead child molester, killer."
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
okay.
do you have
go
anything else?
I have a couple pop culture things actually.
Oh, okay.
This time.
Okay.
So one, there was a comic adaptation of this movie that was made, but it was meant to be a 3-issue series. The 3rd issue never came out because the company went bankrupt after the first 2. But the 3rd issue was supposed to have both 3D and non-3D versions of the comic, which would have been cool.
Yeah.
Like to represent the dream sequence, they would have had a whole issue of those either 3D or non. But no one ever got to see it. So the first 2 issues do exist. They're out in the wild. But the 3rd issue never produced. Just in terms of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise in general, there was an NES game. It was released in October of 1989. And the general purpose of the game is that you have to collect the bones of Freddy around the town and then put them in the furnace to destroy him. And so you're walking around in the daytime with other various different teenagers that can be controlled co-op if you want to, and then there's like a sleep meter, and so when you fall asleep in the world, then the environment changes and like more monsters come out and like Freddy faced creatures are trying to attack you and stuff like that, and it just makes the game harder. So
Did you play it?
I did not. No,
Oh.
I was
I've never played it.
No, I know it has a following. To some degree, it's not meant to be one of the best, but it's certainly not a terrible game. And then I have to mention Fresh Prince.
Okay, yes.
DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. In 1988, on the He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper album, there was the Nightmare on My Street song. They tried to get it, or it was considered to be used in Elm Street 4, but New Line decided not to use it. Why? At some point. I don't know. In fact, New Line even sued for copyright infringement at one point, but then they settled.
Because, I mean, did Robert Englund do the voice?
He did.
As Freddy?
Yes.
In that movie? Okay.
They also used, like, the main theme song, you know?
Yeah, that dun 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 dun.
Yeah, which I was... Okay, I didn't mention this, but, like, in the movie that we just watched, that riff doesn't appear until, like, an hour in.
Right.
And that was annoying to me. Like, there was a general lack of music and sound effects in the movie. And so to have, like, the main theme not show up
besides
until, like,
Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah. But, like, when action was happening on the screen, when the deaths were happening, it was just way too silent. But anyway, that's a really good album. He's the DJ, I'm the rapper. It's the same album as Parents Just Don't Understand. And also Brand New Funk. The single, Nightmare on My Street, was reached 15 on the top 100 charts. You got that high. And top 9 on the R&B and hip-hop charts. And oddly enough, there's actually 2 different versions of this song, just like there's 2 different versions of the movie. The CD version of this song is shorter than the cassette or vinyl version, because at that time they couldn't fit as much data on the CD, so they had to cut a little bit off of there. So if you want the full version, I guess YouTube.
They couldn't do those double-sided CDs. You know how they had those where you flip it over and then you can play more.
But they didn't.
Or no double CD.
I guess not. But yeah, that's a long album. There's a lot of songs on there, so they evidently cut out some stuff.
So they chose that song to
make shorter.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my pop culture contribution for this week.
For that movie. For this movie.
For this movie, and for this week's episode.
Yes.
I'm done with my pop culture, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I know. I'm just saying not for the week that this movie was released.
Yeah, I meant for this week's episode.
Okay. The only thing that I found that happened on September 13th, 1991 as a historical event was Joe Carter, was the first baseball player with 3 consecutive 100 RBI seasons with 3 different teams. Did you know this?
No, I didn't know he did it with 3 consecutive teams like that.
It was the Indians, the Padres, and the Blue Jays.
Would be the last one, yeah. You're a really good player. You also played for the Cubs at one point. Yeah, earlier in his career, he played for the Cubs. But yeah, underrated player. Had a huge World Series moment in 92, I think it was. So, very famous home run call associated with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Okay. All right, moving on to the top songs of this week, of the week of September 13th, 1991. The top song in the U.S. is Paula Abdul's The Promise of a New Day. So a different Paula song. On the same album.
I would, imagine. I don't know that.
I think it was Spellbound.
Song that well. I definitely don't know a video if there is a video. There must be a video.
Yeah, there is a video. It's kind of it's not eventful like how Rush was. It's kind of like just her dancing and then her kind of laying in a field, sort of, and singing this song. It's not as eventful as her first, I guess Rush would have been that first single of it.
We'll have the video on the website.
Yeah. And do you want to guess what the top song of the UK was?
I mean, my default's probably going to be Bryan Adams for pretty much everything this year.
It is Bryan Adams. Okay. Everything I do it for you.
Yeah.
And then the top number 1 song for R&B singles was Lisa and the Cult Jam, Let the Beat Hit 'Em.
Okay, I don't know that one.
I don't really remember this song because, I mean, I know Lisa and the Cult Jam from, more of her 80s songs. So when it got more into like the 90s, it became a little bit less poppy and more
Like slower jams.
in a way. It's like dancey.
Okay.
We'll probably get into like the whole New Jack Swing. This is the beginning of it. This is probably trying to start and to get into that
Gotcha.
genre. And then moving on, I have one video game that was popular during this week that you may have played.
Okay.
It's on the Game Boy. Final Fantasy Legend 3.
I don't think I've played the third one. I actually just recently finished playing the first one.
Okay.
And I'm not a big RPG guy. I'm learning more as I get older. I hate the random encounters. 3 is actually supposed to be one of the toughest ones
Oh, okay.
of the Game Boy series. So.
I didn't really, like, when it came to Game Boy games, I did not play any RPGs on it. I was more into RPGs that were, like, on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I never had a PlayStation either. Like, Game Boy was, like, the console that I had as a kid. Because I was allowed to, right? I was allowed to buy it with my allowance money. Whereas, like, in NES, even if we saved up, we weren't allowed to buy one. So, had to go to the neighbors for that. But the Game Boy, we were allowed to. So, I've been on a quest to beat every Game Boy game on my spare time recently. And so I just recently beat Final Fantasy Legend 1. 3, from what I understand, is has like a very, very sharp difficulty curve at some point in it. So if you're out there listening and you want to try it out, feel free to, but just realize you may have to grind and level up for a long time before trying to tackle that last boss.
All right, so now we're getting into the Tgif TV listings.
All right.
So you know how it's always the 4.
Yep.
This time, every week, every time I look up the TGIF lineup, there has been like a change or something different.
Small variance.
This time, it's Family Matters. There was a TGIF comedy special after this. There was, and then it was Perfect Strangers, and then there was a repeat of Growing Pains after that.
Huh.
So I tried to look up what this comedy special was about, and I couldn't really find much. It was just all I could find, which was on IMDb, was the actress that's in Perfect Strangers, Melanie Wilson. I think she's like the girlfriend of
Balky's girlfriend?
I think Balky's.
Okay.
Or Larry's. I would have to look her up. Her name is Melanie Wilson.
Okay.
She was the host of this half-hour show, and all she did was ask trivia questions. So I don't know why they called this a comedy special. Unless it was, people from these TGIF, the casts from these random shows.
Yeah, maybe she was doing like a brief game show with the other cast.
And it was kind of like a funny thing.
I don't know.
That's all I can find.
If anyone out there knows, let us know.
Yeah.
Send us a message.
I thought that was interesting that they did a little special in between two shows, between Family Matters and Perfect Strangers. I don't know if it was like something that led up into Perfect Strangers.
Oh, that could be. Some weird tie-in thing. We should issue a quick correction, actually.
Yeah, we got a correction.
We got a correction. One eagle-eared listener informed us that we made a mistake, or semi-mistake, in the second episode. I said that Naked Gun 2.5 did not have a video game adaptation. And while that is technically true, there was a video game adaptation of Naked Gun in general that was meant to be, I guess, I don't know if it's, I don't want to comment on if it's supposed to be a sequel or not, because I don't want to issue a correction to the correction. But there is a 2012 computer/mobile phone game, or whatever you want to call it, called Naked Gun ICUP.
Yes, I get it.
All acronym out. Yes.
I get it.
I don't know what it stands for. I didn't get that far in my research, but apparently it's there, it exists. So there is a Naked Gun video game, but still not one based off of Naked Gun 2.5. The Smell of Fear. Rankings and ratings time.
All right, let's do it.
All right. On your 1 to 5 star scale, where would you put Final Nightmare, which we already know is your least favorite of the series, and mine too?
I am giving this movie a 1 star.
Ooh, is that your first one?
No, it's my second one.
It's your second one?
Other People's Money
also
is also a 1.
Yeah, on my 0 to 4 star scale, I was honestly debating going down to a half star. I think I'm going to keep it at a 1 star. And I think it's because the acting is probably some of the best we've seen in the series. I mean, it's not
that
terrible.
Acting is fine. Yeah, I was just
but everything else
out of all
that you care about.
Yeah, out of all of the movies that all 6, this was obviously my least favorite, and I didn't really care about any of it.
So for me, it would have been
I wouldn't hate. Yeah, I don't hate any of the acting.
It would have been a half star if it had the acting of something like a 4 or 5. Because those movies were god awful in terms of acting.
Yeah, some of the acting, even like 2, the second one.
Yeah, like this had one of the best casts. You know, Yaphet Kotto, of course. You got Lisa Zane did a great job.
Yeah,
Maggie.
I like Lizzie.
Breckenmeyer was a fun character while he lasted.
Yeah, Breckenmeyer just played himself, like the typecast that we have seen in the beginning of his career.
Just waiting to meet somebody who knows how to draw Marvin the Martian.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a 1 because of the acting. Otherwise, it would have been a half star. But any movies worth watching once? Would you watch this again?
This one by itself, no.
Yeah, I think
I would watch the first 5 all over again before this last one.
Yeah, I think we're probably in agreement. I think if it was like a situation where we had to watch the entire series, then maybe, or if it was maybe like, let's say, local theater does like a 24-hour horror festival.
I would
like
absolutely watch this in a theater if we had the 3D glasses and they had the theatrical release with those extra 12 minutes. I would, and
I'd be curious enough to try it.
Yes, I'll watch that. Yeah, with a crowd. But if this is on TV or Shudder or wherever else, I'm skipping it over.
Yeah, it would have to be a large crowd too. I don't think I would, if it's like a small group of friends or something.
I like watching horror movies.
But I need like the howling audience.
Yeah, with a big crowd. Like I'm wondering, like this was probably a fun time when this was released in 1991.
Yeah.
With the crowd.
Yeah, it'd be some fun hype.
Yeah.
But if you out there want to watch Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, as of this recording in April 2021, it's available on HBO Max, digital rental, VHS, and DVD. As always, check your local listings. As for us, you can listen to us on all of your major platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of 800 plus movies, along with show notes and more. Next week, we're sticking with death, and we're going to watch Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. So that'll be a nice change of pace. That's also available on HBO, digital rental, VHS, and DVD. We will see you then.
Thank you.